Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters. He who is brave is free. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. It is quality rather than quantity that matters. The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. Wealth is the slave of a wise man, the master of a fool. No man was ever wise by chance. Sometimes even to live is an act of courage. Life is long if you know how to use it. The bravest sight in the world is to see a great man struggling against adversity. While we are postponing, life speeds by. The greatest wealth is a poverty of desires. Time heals what reason cannot. Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. Hang on to your youthful enthusiasms. You'll be able to use them better when you're older. It is more fitting for a man to laugh at life than to lament over it. Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for a kindness. The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable. Expecting is the greatest impediment to living. You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. You learn as long as you live. Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant. No man is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by prosperity. The wise man does not expose himself needlessly to danger, since there are few things for which he cares sufficiently. Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings. The greatest blessings of mankind are within us and within our reach. There is no person so severely punished as those who subject themselves to the whip of their own remorse. One of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood. Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself. A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver or doer. If you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person. It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. The sun also shines on the wicked. True wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. A man's as miserable as he thinks he is. He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary. Nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company. Difficulty comes from our lack of confidence. The mind unlearns with difficulty what it has long learned. The way we treat others is a reflection of the way we treat ourselves. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. Things that were hard to bear are sweet to remember. No man can be happy who does not think himself so. The part of life we really live is small. It is the sign of a great mind to dislike greatness, and to prefer things in measure to things in excess. A good character, once lost, is not easily retrieved. The time will come when diligent research over long periods will bring to light things which now lie hidden. He who fears death will never do anything worth of a man who is alive. He who does not prevent a crime when he can, encourages it. Consult your friend on all things, especially on those which respect yourself. Fortune is like glass, the brighter the glitter, the more easily broken. The day which we fear as our last is but the birthday of eternity. He who is everywhere is nowhere. Leisure without books is death, and burial of a man alive. A person's fears are lighter when the danger is at hand. If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable. There is no great genius without a mixture of madness. For greed all nature is too little. Only time can heal what reason cannot. What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. He who has great power should use it lightly. It is the quality rather than the quantity that matters. You should live in such a way that there is nothing which you could not as easily tell your enemy as keep to yourself. When a person spends all his time in foreign travel, he ends by having many acquaintances, but no friends. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. They lose the day in expectation of the night, and the night in fear of the dawn. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. A sword never kills anybody. It is a tool in the killer's hand. We are always complaining that our days are few, and acting as though there would be no end of them. Fire tests gold. Suffering tests brave men. You cease to fear if you cease to hope. No evil propensity of the human heart is so powerful that it may not be subdued by discipline. Where fear is, happiness is not. One hand washes the other. No man can have a peaceful life who thinks too much about lengthening it. Virtue is nothing else than right reason. We must not be afraid of appearing to others as what we are. If you wish to be loved, love. It is better, of course, to know useless things than to know nothing. There is nothing in the world so much admired as a man who knows how to bear unhappiness with courage. Begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life. Fate leads the willing, and drags along the reluctant. A happy life is one which is in accordance with its own nature. Wealth is the slave of a wise man. Leisure without books is death. Life is like a play. It's not the length, but the excellence of the acting that matters. The whole future lies in uncertainty. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. It is not how much we have, but how much we enjoy, that makes happiness. To wish to be well is a part of becoming well. Wealth is the slave of a wise man and the master of a fool. The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. He who has injured thee was either stronger or weaker. If weaker, spare him. If stronger, spare thyself. While we wait for life, life passes. Silence is a lesson learned from the many sufferings of life. Fire tests gold. Suffering tests brave men. Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. The wise man is neither raised up by prosperity nor cast down by adversity. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. Enjoy present pleasures in such a way as not to injure future ones. The best ideas are common property. It is better to conquer our grief than to deceive it. He is most powerful who has power over himself. What fortune has made yours is not your own. There is no person so severely punished as those who subject themselves to the whip of their own remorse. Life is the fire that burns and the sun that gives light. Life is the wind and the rain and the thunder in the sky. Religion is regarded by the common people as true, by the wise as false, and by rulers as useful. Nothing is burdensome if taken lightly, and nothing need arouse anger if it is not inflated by breaking out into frenzied exclamations. A man's as miserable as he thinks he is. The important thing about a problem is not its solution, but the strength we gain in finding the solution. We learn not in the school, but in life. We cease to be angry once we cease to be weak. The less we deserve good fortune, the more we hope for it. Our plans miscarry because they have no aim. Every guilty person is his own hangman. The good things of prosperity are to be wished, but the good things that belong to adversity are to be admired. Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, "Is this the condition that I feared?" You must live for another if you wish to live for yourself. Most men ebb and flow in wretchedness between the fear of death and the hardships of life. To err is human, but to persist in error is diabolical. The mind that is anxious about the future is miserable. Be wary of the man who urges an action in which he himself incurs no risk. Man is affected not by events but by the view he takes of them. You are your choices. Life is never incomplete if it is an honorable one. A quarrel is quickly settled when deserted by one party. There is no battle unless there be two. No man is free who is a slave to the flesh. The final hour when we cease to exist does not itself bring death. It merely of itself completes the death process. We reach death at that moment, but we have been a long time on the way. It is a great man who can treat his losses as gains. Man is most happy when he gives happiness to others. We should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is, or is it not, in my control? It is more civilized to make fun of life than to lament it. True happiness is, to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future. There are more things to alarm us than to harm us, and we suffer more often in apprehension than reality. Throw me to the wolves, and I will return leading the pack. It is not what you endure that matters, but how you endure it. A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. Let us train our minds to desire what the situation demands. The willing, destiny guides them. The unwilling, destiny drags them. Life is long, if you know how to use it. If you want to be loved, love. Nothing will ever please me, no matter how excellent or beneficial, if I must retain the knowledge of it to myself. He who is not a good servant will not be a good master. The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. An unfortunate man is always in the wrong. Whatever can happen at any time can happen today. Leisure without study is death, a tomb for the living person. Every man prefers belief to the exercise of judgment. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. Anger is like a ruin, which falls on its owner. Life is like a play. It is not the length but the excellence of the acting that matters. There is no enjoying the possession of anything valuable unless one has someone to share it with. Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. People who know no self-restraint lead stormy lives. To wish to progress is the largest part of progress. Fate leads the willing, and drags the unwilling. We are mad, not only individually, but nationally. What does reason demand of a man? A very easy thing, to live in accordance with his nature. Whoever is capable of angering you becomes your master. Time discovers truth. Wisdom is knowing what things are of importance and what are not. We are always in search of things that have gone from our grasp, while those within our reach we push aside. Fate rules the affairs of mankind with no recognizable order. Consider the shortness of life. We must take things as they come. Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare. It is not that we have so little time but that we lose so much. A man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is. You can tell the character of every man when you see how he receives praise. There is nothing the busy man is less busied with than living. The good things of life are not to be measured by the length of days, but by the ability to enjoy them. Life, if well lived, is long enough. We are not given a short life, but we make it short, and we are not ill-supplied but wasteful of it. No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. He who angers you conquers you. The point is, not how long you live, but how nobly you live. The final hour when we cease to exist does not itself bring death. It merely completes the death process. The highest proof of virtue is to possess boundless power without abusing it. The great man is he who in the midst of the crowd keeps with perfect sweetness the independence of solitude.